Hi, it's Adrian here. I hope you're all keeping safe and well out there in these trying times. I'm having to record from home here as opposed to the clinic as usual. I thought I'd keep the videos rolling anyway. I just hope the kids don't come in from the garden out back. The usual kids running into shot meme that seems to happen a lot these days. But anyway, my last video was on the head-neck relationship, and I mentioned specifically what we call the primary control. And that's a technical term and a principle within the Alexander technique. And I don't often in my own teaching use our technical language. But I actually thought, why not? Why don't I use some of our technical language and explain some more of it? So it seemed to be natural moving along from primary control for me to discuss inhibition, because the two are very closely related. So inhibition is not to be confused with the Freudian version of the word, which is one of the reasons I don't like to use the word, because it sounds like a negative to be inhibited. But actually in the Alexander world is a huge positive. It's the ability to be non-reactive. And that's the term I tend to use in my own teaching, to be non-reactive to a stimulus. But inhibition, it's there. That's one of the words Alexander used, and we do use it as a positive. Because in the reaction is where things tend to go awry. And in the primary control, as I mentioned, that startle reflex, it's in that reaction there. If we can inhibit that reaction, then we're left free of those tension habits. So the way it's often described is as a big pregnant pause before activity. Now, there's a place for this, but I do have caveats about it. I do think from a learning point of view, to choose to pause while you're learning, let's say you're learning a specific skill and you notice you're overreacting to whatever that skill is at that time. Very typically it could be, we see it a lot in music, piano players or guitar, any music instrument really. I play guitar, and you get to that difficult bit and everything gets a bit, and we overreact to the idea that it's hard. But it could be a sporting activity, but it could be any activity. And it can be useful to have that pregnant pause while we're learning that skill, to try and say no to the reaction. But in real life and day-to-day living, I don't think that's so practical, so useful. I don't think it's useful to be pausing all the time before you start doing everything. It's a way of training yourself, for sure. Absolutely, and very useful. But I think ultimately when we train ourselves, we want to be able to be not just pausing before an activity, we want to be a pause during activity. And that what we're pausing is the reaction, not the activity itself, but the reaction. That's why I like to use the idea of being non-reactive, because that's true before the activity, but it's true to be non-reactive during the activity, to be inhibited during the activity, inhibited of a reaction. And that's where the real value is, and that's what we want to build. That it's like a muscle almost, like strengthening. I don't mean a literal muscle, a metaphorical muscle. Strengthen our ability to be less reactive. And if we're less reactive, psychophysically, not just physically, the muscles tighten, but if our nervous system is less reactive, because that's obviously why your muscles tighten in the first place, because the nervous system is sending a signal to tighten. If we can be less reactive in the nervous system, obviously we'll have less tight muscles, but we'll also just be calmer. We'll have a calmer nervous system. So it's obviously, most people think of the Alexander technique from maybe postural points of view and postural elements, and it's an aspect of. It very much reflects well in your stress management response to inhibit a reaction. That could be a reaction to other people, to public speaking, to all sorts of situations. So you just find that neutral gear to stay a little calmer, a little quieter. So that's what inhibition is. I don't think I really have much more to say about that, to be honest. So I do offer online lessons. So if you're interested, do hit me up on that, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.